In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this succulent planter. Okay, so this is the basic structure of these succulent planters. These three are going to be basically the same. I just did this kind of a straight edge right here. This was the succulent planter that we gave the 7-degree angle on, and that's going to look kind of like a clay planter pot would, kind of coming up this way. So the succulent will be here, this is the top. And we'll do a different router bit on this. So our next step is we're going to go ahead and drill the hole where these succulents will live. Okay, so a couple of notes about our setup. I would recommend, if you have one, use a drill press for this and not a handheld drill. That way you can make sure that the hole goes completely 90 degrees to the surface of the planter. I'm using a 2-inch Forstner bit that will leave a flat bottom hole, and 2 inches is the perfect size for the type of succulent that we're going to use. One more note, I'm using a 12-inch clamp right here as opposed to just holding onto the succulent like this. This will give me, one, it's going to keep my hand further away from the bit, and it's also going to give me more control to hold this still, because a 2-inch bit with a piece of wood this small, it can really grab this succulent planter and throw it out of your hands if you're not careful. So use a clamp in your shop if you have one to help keep your hands and your planter safe. Make sure your hole is about 2 inches to 2 1/4 inches deep. Okay, so for the next step, what we're going to do is pour some epoxy in the bottom and around the edges of the inside of the succulent planter. So that way what this is going to do is whenever someone goes to water the succulent, the water won't seep down into the wood and eventually drain out the bottom. So just a light coat of epoxy should be fine. All we're trying to do is close all of the wood grain that right now is open. I'm using a 2-part epoxy to fill these. I'm actually using the Total Boat epoxy. I'll leave a link to this in the description. Make sure that you mix the 2-part epoxy well. I usually spend about 30 seconds mixing up the epoxy. I've put in 4 pumps into this cup. So really I'm trying to just do 1 pump per planter, if that makes sense. That looks mixed up pretty good. Ooh, that might have been a little too much. Okay, so that's the bottom. Now what I'm gonna do is just take this. You can use a paintbrush, but I just try to minimize my scrap as much as possible. Let's see if you guys can see this. I'm just gonna kind of let the epoxy run out until it gets almost to the edge, and then I just kind of rotate it around. And then what I normally do is after about 15 to 30 minutes, I'll come back and I'll do that one more time. You can see how now the whole sides and edge are pretty much covered in epoxy. Okay, so right here is the succulent planter after sanding and putting a coat of polyurethane on it. And I never try to sand these too much because they're succulent planters. They won't be touched too much. I just like to get a nice coat of polyurethane on there and sand down the rough spots. thank you so much for checking out this video. If it's helpful for you, if you decide to make one of these yourself, consider hitting the like button. It really helps me out. And also subscribe to the channel. I will have more projects like this coming your way. Also, the reason that I only have one here at the end of the video and you saw me making 4 was because I was making these right before a craft show that I went to, and then I actually sold the other 3 of that particular batch. But fortunately, I saved this one and was able to shoot the rest of this video.